2020 is a leap year in the calendar, but can it even be a bigger leap year for Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals? All signs point to yes for his development, because you get DeAndre Hopkins now to go along with Larry Fitzgerald in the slot and Christian Kirk, and it now means Kyler has one of the better wide receiver trios in all of football. And then by adding Kenyon Drake, it shows that Cliff Kingsbury, to his credit, can evolve to be something more than just an air raid play caller who loves to throw the football. The offensive line is a weakness, but a big reason why they allowed so many sacks is precisely because of Kyler Murray's backyard style of running around. Defensively, they reshaped their linebacker core by bringing in Devondre Campbell and drafting Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, who's a uniquely talented hybrid player that should help the Cardinals be a whole lot better, stopping the run in a nickel defense. It is a really good pass rush with Chandler Jones, whose star power comes with help at that outside linebacker spot with fellow returner Hassan Reddick and a newly signed veteran in Devon Kennard, who started 65 games in 6 seasons. Now, they added Dre Kirkpatrick at corner to start opposite of Patrick Peterson as soon as Robert Alford suffered his season-ending pec injury. And what you have now is a popular pick for some to go from worst to first. But I don't think this offensive line is going to be good enough in a division with ferocious defensive linemen. This, to me, looks like an almost team, the type of team that makes it tough on contenders but keeps the bad teams around too long. A weak schedule to start off means they start off 3-1, but as things get tougher, the losses pile up and they finish 6-10 in last place. But as Kyler Murray continues to develop into an upper echelon quarterback, signs are good in Arizona. Now, up north in the division, you have the Seattle Seahawks. The biggest move of Seattle's offseason was making that trade for Jamal Adams to join a defense that already includes Bobby Wagner, a linebacker. Now, Adams will be helpful in the back end, but he might be needed more up front as a blitzer and a run stopper, because last year the Seahawks could not stop the run or get to opposing quarterbacks. I remember playing 5-star recruit Rasheem Green back in the Mission League in high school, and now he is coming along in his development as a pro for the Hawks, but the fact that his 4 sacks were enough to lead the team last year is not a good sign for the Seattle team at all. And the extent to which Seattle improved on that front 7 is far from eye-popping as well. They didn't pick up Ngakoue, Robert Quinn, or Dante Fowler in free agency, and then they didn't bring back Jadeveon Clowney. So instead, it'll be up to a group featuring recent draft picks in Darrell Taylor and Alton Robinson, and a pair of former Seahawks in Bruce Irvin and Benson Mayowa having a Seattle reunion. Now, the only thing is, those two aren't coming back to a Legion of Boom defense. The offense is what carries the Seahawks these days. In their backs, though, I will say this, they're stacked. Chris Carson quietly finished in the top 5 in rushing yards in the last 2 seasons, and he'll have Carlos Hyde as a backfield running mate to provide solid insurance for the injured Rashad Penny, who is almost done recovering from that torn ACL. The only thing is, they'll be running behind an offensive line that might struggle out of the gate due to a lack of continuity. They're going to have to lean on Dwayne Brown and Mike Iupati to hold that unit down, because reshaping an offensive line is tough during a year without a preseason, and this was also a team that was expecting Chance Warmack to play left guard until he opted out because of COVID. Also gone, DJ Fluker. He's being replaced at right guard by a rookie 3rd rounder. And then they brought in BJ Finney to replace Justin Britt at center, but Finney was so bad in camp that the Hawks have still been working out Justin Britt just in case they need to bring him back. Now, the good news is for Seattle, you got Russell Wilson. He's like that piece of flex tape that you slap on a leaky bucket of water trying to fix everything. And more can be expected out of DK Metcalf in year 2 next to Tyler Lockett. No division games until after the bye. That could be a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it is more of a good thing for Seattle. I see them losing to Arizona and Dallas before their Week 6 bye, and then after that, they drop 2 games to Buffalo and Philly, split the series against the Niners and Rams on their way to a 10-6 third-place finish that can still secure them a playoff spot in an expanded playoffs. Now, also looking to get back into the postseason are Sean McVay's Los Angeles Rams, and in his 3rd year as head coach, it was only his first time not winning the division or making the playoffs. 2020 brings a lot of new changes. You got a new stadium, new uniforms, new logos, and most importantly, new faces replacing familiar faces. No more Todd Gurley has people wondering what to make of this backfield. And as much as it sounds like running back by committee, I think 2nd-round pick Cam Akers is going to be a dude, and he's going to eventually become that guy who takes the majority of the touches though there is potential of him getting vultured in short yardage situations by veteran back Malcolm Brown or undrafted rookie Xavier Jones, while Darrell Henderson, the third-round pick from last year, heals from that hamstring injury that he just recently got. So that run game, super important because it dictates how the Rams love to throw the football, which is out of that play-action scheme that closely resembles their zone running plays out of those condensed formations. And, dude, they get those receivers involved in the blocking, too. And speaking of receivers, that is definitely a strength of this team with Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and then now new rookie Van Jefferson. He's been the talk of Rams camp for his football IQ and ability to get open. Over on the other side of the ball, it's an athletic defense. You got two elite players that power it all, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, who, by the way, Ramsey just got paid big-time money to stay in LA with AD and the Rams long-term, which has got to be something exciting for Rams fans. One of their other offseason moves to help out Aaron Donald was bringing in defensive lineman A'Shawn Robinson, who unfortunately is one of two players to start the season off on the non-football injury list, along with recently drafted outside linebacker Terrell Lewis. They're going to miss Corey Littleton at inside backer, and the lack of depth at that position does leave some reason to be concerned. So what they went to the waiver wire to claim Denver's Justin Hollins to shore up the depth. And speaking of Denver, the team's new defensive coordinator is Brandon Staley, who worked in Denver under Vic Fangio. And if Staley's scheme looks anything like Fangio's, it probably means the Rams will be in a lot of nickel and dime packages. Hence why they did load up at their safety position, which is another strength of this team. And I think that's going to in turn alleviate some of the pressure off the middle of the field. Overall, I think this defense will be in the top 13 in most statistics when it's all said and done. I think they start off with two big wins against the NFC East, two best teams, drop a road game to Buffalo, and then rattle off two wins before losing their first game to the Niners. Now, the only problem is their second crack at Jimmy G and the Niners comes on a short week, which is why I actually am predicting the Niners to winning that one as well. I see the Rams losing on the road to Tampa on that Monday Night Football game, and then probably splitting home games with Seattle to be good enough, though, to finish at 11-5, which is solid in this division. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, like, come on, man, really? That's ambitious. But just think about it like this. This team marched down the field in Seattle last year with a chance to win a tough primetime game, and then if a kick goes inches the other way, last year's 9-7 becomes 10-6. But here's the thing, though. If things do come down to a kick, it's not going to be Greg Zuerlein anymore, because now they've got a rookie in Sam Sloman. Despite all the losses, this is still a very talented football team in Los Angeles with a really good head coach and a quarterback who is only getting more comfortable in that offensive system. Now, the NFC West is a tough division, and the thing is, until further notice, the Niners, they're the best team in this division. They battled through injuries last year, but still found themselves winning the division in Seattle, using their first-round bye to get them all the way to a fourth-quarter lead in the Super Bowl, but they just couldn't get it done. So after that now, the question becomes, can the Niners avoid a Super Bowl hangover? And to me, there's absolutely no doubt this team is up for that challenge. Even though you go into games knowing what San Francisco's identity is, you still have to stop it, and head coach Kyle Shanahan gets creative with it week to week. They've got an efficient dink and dunk passing game that works because of how dominant the team is rotating backs over on the ground, and then they're running behind a monster fullback in Kyle Juszczyk. Credit to John Lynch for being an awesome GM. He found a really good wideout in Deebo Samuel, who towards the second half of his rookie season really started to dominate out there. He's been rushing, and catching the ball really well, but the thing is, he's got a broken foot that he's been nursing this whole time, so I don't know if he'll be ready to go for the start of the season at full speed, but we'll have to see on that. Then losing Emmanuel Sanders to the Saints is why they took Brandon Ayuk in the first round to help replenish that mediocre wideout group. But the thing is, their best pass catcher isn't even a wideout. It's a guy who also moonlights as the best blocking tight end in all of football. George Kittle, make no mistake, the heart and soul of this 49er offense. And joining him now is the newly signed Jordan Reed, who's looked great in camp and has always been an extremely talented tight end. It's just he's never been able to play a full 16 games. But if he stays healthy, Kyle Shanahan and the 49er offense can be fully operative and dominant in two tight end personnel sets to go along with their pretty talented offensive line. Now, the thing is, we're going to have to see if their line will be as good as they were last year. You know, they did lose lifelong 49er Joe Staley to retirement, but Trent Williams is, I don't know, younger, faster, more fresh, so I don't really see how they skip a beat at that tackle position. They may, however, struggle early in the interior because their 2 top centers went down with an injury. Defensively, this is a good football team, so I'm not really worried about there. If you're a Niner fan, I don't think you should be worried either. There is no more DeForest Buckner, though. The thing is, they have an embarrassment of riches at that defensive line with D Ford, Eric Armstead, and then last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year in Nick Bosa. And then by drafting Javon Kinlaw, it just tells me they're going to be fine at that position. So with all those players, tons of them worth mentioning that I didn't even get around to naming, they make Rob Saleh's job as defensive coordinator really easy. And it was San Francisco and Green Bay who last year were the teams in the NFC that were knocking on the door of a Super Bowl win. But in my eyes, Green Bay, they didn't really do anything to better themselves where they needed it, and the 49ers absolutely have. Now, the NFC West is not going to be any easier than it was last year, but again, I think this is a Niner team that looks like they're going to avoid a Super Bowl hangover. I've got them going 12-4, with all 4 of their losses, though, coming on the road. I see them losing to Seattle in Week 8, New Orleans in Week 10, Dallas on Sunday night in Week 15, and losing a game to Kyler's inspired Cardinals in Week 16. But it should be enough to win the division and clinch a top 2 seed. Only thing is, there are no buys for 2 seeds anymore, so that game against the Saints, it's going to be huge.